Schoology has a lot of really interesting tools to help you out if you're doing some online teaching. One of them is student completion rules. I'm going to show you a little bit about that here. One problem that teachers sometimes have, I'm going to go over to a student view here, is if a student is logged into Schoology over here on the right in the upcoming section or in their calendar, sometimes they'll just click on assignments that they see over here without actually going into the content and just kind of do a half-hearted attempt at an assignment and just be done with it. Maybe they'll score it well, maybe they won't, whatever type of thing. Another thing that comes up too is more of a self-paced sort of student or a self-paced class. The student completion rules should be able to help out with both of those things. I'll show you a little bit about those right here. So here's a student view. I'm going to go back over to the teacher view. And in this teacher view, I've made a Unit 3 that involves a couple of pages of content. I've got a discussion about page 1, I've got a quiz about page 2, and then I've got a Unit 3 summary. You can add whatever you want, you can put whatever you want into your unit, but all this is just a standard folder in the materials, and it's called Unit 3, and I put it in this order already. Now what I'm going to do is start doing some completion rules for the students who are going to go through this. Now make sure you click this little check mark thing up here that says requirements must be completed in sequential order. That's really important because that's the whole point of what we're doing here. You want them to do first thing first, obviously. I'm going to start adding some requirements in here. And I'll just click it a few times. What I want to have happen in Unit 3 is first I want them to do page number 1. I want them to view the item. I want them to take a look at page number 1. After that, in order to go on, I want them to do the discussion. And more than just viewing it, I would like for the students to post a comment or a reply. Now, I can't obviously ensure that it's quality, but it's something, right? Next, I want them to view page 2, just view it. Then, as kind of a choke point, I want them to do this quiz that I've created. And I could have had a quiz up here too, if I'd made one, but for this, I want them to have this quiz that refers to page number 2, and instead of just viewing it or trying it or whatever, I want them to score at least 100%. This isn't points out of 100. I think the quiz only has like 1 or 2 questions at 10 points each, but this is more of a percentage, so I want at least 100% completion rate on that. And I've set the quiz to allow as many attempts as they want and all that sort of stuff. I'll talk about the quiz a little bit more, but for this, I want them to score at least 100%. You could change it to 80, you could change it to 50, whatever, but I've got high standards, what can I say? After they do the quiz, then they'll be allowed to go to page 3. And after page 3, I want them to do the Dropbox assignment that I've created that's more of a summary of the whole unit. I could change that also to score at least, but that means that the student has to wait until I score his or her submission. So for this, because let's pretend it's more of a self-paced thing, I want the student to just do a submission, make a submission. I'll check it when I can, but that'll allow the student to move on if I don't get to it right off the bat. Looks good to me, so I'm going to save my changes. One of the important things about the quizzes, you have to set them up just so that the students can move on with them. I've got one question here, and then I've got a little bit of information down at the bottom. So it says to continue, you must pass this quiz with 100% correct. I did that by adding just a little text box down here. But this only has one question. They have to get 100%, and they'll have this little message down here. I set mine to, excuse me, to be available, of course. I don't want a time limit. I wanted unlimited attempts so that the student can go back and check in case they don't pass this thing. And then down here, I change it to view submissions, yes. Now, if it's a true or false question, that's going to be pretty easy to guess what the other answer is. But if you have other types of questions, all it will show is that, this question was correct or this question was not correct. It won't give the correct answer unless you want them to. But if I set it like this and I save it, what that looks like for a student then, if I go over to my little student account, is my student is going to come into materials, go to Unit 3, and so I've got this. I can't click on anything else, right? I have to go to page 1 first. So after I've viewed page number 1, then I can go next. All that does is make page 2 available. I could click the next thing or kind of go back and forth, but until I do some sort of comment, I can't unlock page number 3. So there we go. Next is available now. I can view this, and then here's my quiz. Let's say I can't move on, right, until I finish this quiz, and I have to do a good job at it. I'm going to begin my quiz, and down here, if you'll notice, is that note I put in a little text box. That's going to be right above the submit button, and to me that makes a little bit more sense than putting it up at the top where the student might just skim over it. But down here, says you must pass this quiz with 100% correct. If you can't continue, go back and review the information. So that hopefully gives the student a little bit of information. If I click on false there, yes, I want to submit. Oh no, I got that one wrong. It doesn't say what the right answer is. I can infer, obviously. I also cannot click on the next thing. So golly gee, it looks like I'm going to have to go back and check the old Unit 3, page 2. Is this Latin? Oh, hey, I think it is. And because I've set this quiz to be unlimited, I can take it again. Hopefully this time I can pass and move on. Yes, I would like to submit. Okay, yay, now I can hit the next button. And so that's kind of how you can set up some choke points on purpose so that students, in theory, have to look through your materials before they can move on. And then if I keep going, I can get into my Dropbox. Now, one thing about the student completion rules, there's no due date attached to it, just kind of by its nature. So if you want to do some sort of hybridized, you have due dates, but they must complete it at a certain point, you're kind of stuck up the creek unless you do something a little different. In my teacher account, what I did was I've got Unit 3. None of these things have due dates, right? But if I come over here as a student, and again, they don't have due dates because of the completion rules. If I come over here as a student, I actually do have a due date coming up that says complete Unit 3. All I did for that was just make an assignment with no Dropbox, and it's worth no points, but it's informative to the student because it says due Friday, November 16th, Unit 3. You must complete Unit 3, etc., etc. And I pasted in the URL of Unit 3. So if a student goes to it, here's Unit 3. Right? And the way I did that was I just made another kind of like dummy folder over here that says due dates. And I've got this complete Unit 3 thing in there. I could have as many complete this unit, complete that assignment types of things in there that I want. And if I give it a due date and I take away the Dropbox and I make it 0 points, it shows up in the student's calendar and upcoming events over on the side. But it's more just as an informational sort of piece than as, an actual assignment. So that could help with some students, or with the idea that students won't know when things are due. If you have due dates that you need to put on there, you could just make these kind of like marker assignments, for lack of a better term. And that can help out with students knowing when they need to get things done. But it also allows you to have those completion rules, which again, if you have the completion rules, it's going to take away all of your due dates. But yeah, that's a little bit about the completion rules in Schoology.